You're listening to the Empowered Divorce Podcast, where you practice being the chooser in your life again, one day at a time. Thanks for joining me. Hello, my amazing listeners. How are you? I hope you are having a good summer. I am so far, and if you follow me on social media, you've seen my new little precious grandson and all the adventures that I have been having with my very busy granddaughter. I am learning a lot from her, and I've been taking a lot of notes. She's teaching me so much about life. I love it. I have a lot of episode topics coming up because of her. I just wanted to share some thoughts about a few of my favorite quotes from one of my family's favorite movies, Kung Fu Panda. Have you all seen that? Oh my gosh. So many good nuggets of truth in there. I love the philosophical viewpoints that thread throughout the movie as well. Of course, a ton of laughs. But today I have a few of my favorite quotes from that movie that I thought I'd share with you because as I was thinking about all of you, like I always do, I imagined looking into your eyes and wanting you to know these things. Each of you are going through your own individual challenges, and some of you are navigating challenges that you could have never imagined, or you heard only about in the movies, or was your worst nightmare. And yet here you are facing the fire. And sometimes we get stuck along the way, which is totally normal. I always hope that my podcast gives you listeners something to hold on to keep you moving forward and help you not feel so alone in that hell. One thing I just want to remind each of you is the summer is wrapping up and fall is beginning. You're getting maybe your kids starting to think about maybe getting your kids ready for school. And maybe now that you have summer wrapping up, kids are going to get back on a routine. You're going to get maybe back on a routine. And maybe part of that routine that you want to throw in there is maybe get on a little routine of dating. Okay, dating yourself. Let's start there. Because my Dating from Within workshop, that's where we start. We start with navigating the past and how you showed up in your past, and really start looking more towards you and recognizing more of how you showed up and why. This is such an important part of your healing journey when you are contemplating and thinking or imagining dating again, then we cannot bypass this part. So that is actually what we do the first night of the workshop is look a little bit more deeper into the past and what is our story and learning how to own our story. Then it's time to look at the present. How are we showing up today? I walk you through 7 different levels of energy to help you better articulate how you are currently showing up and why. And it gives these ladies who've taken my course, it gives them such incredible awareness as to maybe why they're getting the results that they're getting or why they are scared to death to date. But more importantly, I want you to know how to become a healthy version of you, to learn what healthy looks like, to start dating yourself, getting to know yourself again, turning towards you again. And for a lot of you, maybe for the first time. Yes, we go over little dating tips and tricks when you do decide, but this really is learning more about you. If you are ready to learn more about you and to start dating yourself, honestly, look at this workshop as like the bridge. Like, don't date other people until you take this workshop. So you need to take it before you even consider dating somebody else. Anyways, it is amazing and we have so much fun. I haven't had it all summer, but it is back the end of August. So go to the show notes and get your spot for that and join me. It's going to be super fun. Okay. But today I've got some quotes for you. The first one, like I was talking about, sometimes we get stuck. We get stuck moving forward in our journey and can feel stuck in this living hell. So the first quote that I have for you from this movie, Kung Fu Panda, is for those of you who may feel stuck or perhaps feel like you're in a monotony of a pattern that you don't quite like. The first quote from Kung Fu Panda is, "If you only do what you usually do, you'll never know what you can do." This one really stood out to me, and it is such a true philosophical principle. If you only do what you usually do, you'll never know what you can do. And this to me is about how sometimes we get stuck in our comfort zone. Staying in the comfort zone is a strategy that is used by our protector parts to avoid any potential risk, right? Because that is what your human brain is designed to do, is always assess potential risk. Even if it's getting out of bed and going to the gym, my brain every morning tells me, here are all the potential risks of getting out of bed and going to the gym, including re-injuring my back, right? Every morning that I do this. So your brain is trying to assess these. Protector parts are trying to avoid. We're trying to really maintain this sense of safety because that, again, is part of the motivational triad in your brain. This can include avoiding any of these new challenges, staying away from situations that might potentially could possibly lead to failure, or these parts are also just trying to prevent any exposure to things that are unfamiliar, unknown, because again, it's going to assess all the potential risks of that, including dating. I know, I had to slip it in there, right? But it also helps with when you stay in the comfort zone, it helps with the feeling of being in control and that sense of, it's a false sense, but that sense of predictability, right? We like predictability. Our human brain likes predictability. So by sticking to the familiar routine, doing the same thing, same behaviors, even in a destructive relationship, these protector parts ensure a predictable, controllable environment, which minimizes, and I'm air quoting here if you can't see me, minimizes the anxiety and the stress. Now, the comfort zone can, for a certain length of time, keep all of these exile parts, right? Exiles are most often child wounds, hurt, pain, sadness, alone, rejection. Comfort zone keeps all of those exiles, like hurt, pain, rejection, at bay, right? It prevents those emotions from coming up to the surface. So, by avoiding any new challenges, any new situations, all the protector parts reduce the chance of triggering these buried, unprocessed, unhealed emotions. So only doing what you usually do keeps you, quote, safe, because stepping out of this zone involves facing the unknown, facing the uncomfortable, right? Think by now you've heard the episode of the difference between intolerable and uncomfortable. Getting out of the comfort zone requires you to lean into that uncomfortable. But this is how we grow. This is how we adopt a growth mindset. You got to step out of the comfort zone, and that is what leads to personal growth. When we're doing what we've always done, it limits what you can do because it can limit potential and prevent you from discovering new abilities, new skills, talent, opportunities that your human brain, by the way, will not come up with. Do you realize that? Your human brain works on based off a motivational triad. All it's trying to do is save energy, seek pleasure, and avoid pain. Your human brain isn't designed to come up with new creative ideas. That actually has to come from you, who you really are, your higher self. So when you want to experience something new, it's not going to come from your human brain. We have to overcome this motivational triad, be in charge of it in order to discover new abilities, talents, skills, and create something new. That's why you're always hearing me say, you are the creator, not your brain. I would have never discovered my natural ability to run a business if I wasn't put in this position to step out of my comfort zone, lean into massive, massive uncomfortability, and start a business. I didn't know that I had this business mind. Starting a cleaning business absolutely challenged the hell out of me. And I faced rejection every day, knocking on doors, literally knocking on doors with flyers, making calls, walking into apartment complexes to gain business, trying to figure out how to do my taxes. Oh my gosh. open my LLC, walking into a bank and trying to ask how to do that, not knowing what the heck I'm talking about, learning how to define my profit margin, all the things I had to learn how to do. And that required doing something different. It required me to get out of my comfort zone, which goes along with my next favorite quote from the movie. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten. Do you remember that one? I love it. Similarly, when your own behaviors are the same, or when we allow the same behaviors from others in our life that impact us in ways that are not healthy or helpful, then we will always continue to get the same results. Limiting beliefs like, I'm not enough, I'll never be loved, I'm broken, damaged, things will never work out for me, things don't work out for me, I'll never heal, I'll always be alone. These kinds of thoughts lead to behaviors that will give you the same results that match the belief. I'd actually like to tweak this quote just a little bit because thoughts do lead to behaviors, leads to action. So I would say if you always think, and I'm going to use a word that I'm making up here, so don't judge me and don't write in and tell me this isn't a word. I know. But if you always think what you've always thunk, then you'll always get what you've got. This challenges us because it requires us to lean into some radical acceptance, like accepting things that you can't control. But when you can control your thoughts and feelings, then that is what's going to lead to different actions, and then you will get different results. I am always inspired by Viktor Frankl and what he had learned through his experiences in the concentration camps. I love his book, Man's Search for Meaning. If you haven't read it, that's a great one. Might be a good summer read. But anyways, he has some amazing quotes in there. So I'm adding some. It's an episode of quotes today. He says, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing. The last. Oh, this is so powerful. The last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance, to choose one's own way. Between stimulus and response, there is space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. The one thing that you can't take away, he says, the one thing that you cannot take away from me is the way that I choose to respond to what you do to me. The last of one's freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance. This was a game changer for me because I know I share this with a lot of you listeners. I felt like this one person took away everything, my dreams, my ideals, my hopes, my family, everything because of what he chose to do. It felt as if I had nothing to choose. I felt absolutely powerless. When I read this quote, it made me realize that I can hold on to the choice of how I think and respond to anything, to any circumstance in life. When we choose to think the same thing and we get the same results that are not serving us, that are not helping us, that are not leading to us thriving, then we need to change the way that we think. When you are going through divorce because of betrayal and abuse, you will find yourself perhaps constantly thinking that you are not worthy of healthy or a loving relationship. You might believe that you attract toxic people and that you're never going to find happiness. So let's just take that thought pattern right there, right? The thought might be, I must be doing something wrong. Maybe I deserve this. I'll never find someone who is going to treat me well, right? When we think that thought, what do you feel? I know I felt hopeless. I felt like I had the lowest self-esteem ever. And it also created a lot of fear for me in my future. So when I thought that and felt that, then what did I see myself doing? What were my actions? Well, first of all, I avoided dating. I avoided people in general. I wanted to isolate myself because I didn't want to ever be hurt again. I was living in that fear. I didn't want to get hurt again because I believed that I did something wrong. So what are the results that are coming from that thought? I'm going to be stuck. I'm going to be stuck in the cycle of loneliness, self-doubt, which is going to absolutely make it difficult, if not near impossible, to heal from these past wounds and move forward in my life. That's one example of staying in the same thought pattern and then getting this result and thinking that there's no other way out of this. So we back it up. We back it up to the thought because that's where our freedom, our agency lies. Just like Victor and so many other people who have learned the power of agency through choosing what to think. So, all right, what's another conscious choice that we can think? I deserve to be treated with love and respect. My past does not define my future, and I am capable of finding a healthy relationship. When I think that, I feel hope, I feel self-worth, and I feel empowerment. When I feel hope, self-worth, and empowerment, what do I see and what would I see myself doing? Maybe I start taking time to reflect on what I do want in a relationship. Maybe I start to explore different connections to see if these connections I make match what I want in my relationship. What result will that give me? Gosh, it'll give me healthier relationships because I believe I deserve one. I respect myself enough to not get into one that doesn't match what I want in a healthy relationship. Gosh, doesn't that build confidence? Probably makes you want to sign up for a workshop. I know, right? Geez, Amie. Okay, so if you always think what you've always thunk, then you'll always get what you've always gotten. So we have to think something different. Okay. The next quote that I loved from this movie is yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. I actually really do believe this Buddhist philosophy. I think this is a little bit of like stoicism, but the philosophy is where the emphasis is focusing on present day, and that attachment to future or past only leads to suffering. So it's that present moment, seeing things as they really are, accepting things as really are. It goes along with my pillar of acceptance. So being in the present is where mindfulness is fostered, where contentment and enlightenment lives. This is where we choose. You can only choose in the present. You can only choose in reality. It's only what we truly have control over. And worrying about the future or reminiscing and ruminating in the past is unproductive. It doesn't serve us, and it absolutely distracts from our ability to live creatively and contently in the present. Can you see how this requires, how to live in the presence requires acceptance, like radical acceptance, even, right? But this is what helps us emotionally regulate, especially after betrayal and abuse and divorce. Letting go of the past hurts. And when I say letting go, sometimes that statement sounds so flippant. It's not letting it go and throwing it away, but it is maybe going back to the previous quote. It's letting go of the meaning that perhaps we've been giving it that keeps us stuck in the past. It's looking at the past and giving what you experienced in the hurt a different meaning. Maybe you have been making it mean something about your lovability, your worth, and your value. So when I say letting go, it's letting go of that narrative, that meaning, and giving it a new meaning. Letting go of worrying about the future. Again, what are we predicting in the future? And remember, you don't have to believe everything your brain says in your motivational triad. Your brain its job is to come up with every possible scenario of what might happen in that future to keep you comfortable, to keep you from change, to keep you from doing something new. That is your brain's job. It's not your brain's job to stay in the present. That's something that we have to consciously choose to do. That's why building resilience happens in the present. You can't choose in the past or the future because agency does not live there. There were plenty of days that I must admit I did not want to wake up when the past hurts were too intense and the future fears were paralyzing. The idea of being taken in my sleep felt way easier than doing another day alone. Being a single mom, working my fingers to the bone, living in massive fear of the future and all of the trauma from the past just so stuck in my body. My unhealed trauma parts kept me ruminating in the past, wondering what could I have done differently. Sometimes I even believed that this was a punishment from past mistakes. It just kept me looping and looping, and I just felt like I couldn't get out of it. Maybe just not waking up is a way to get out of it. But the idea that today is a gift, that was not my mantra at all. That wasn't even a thought that I knew was available to me because I was stuck in the past and still trying to figure out some way to change the today. I am forever grateful that I kept putting one foot in front of the other, literally sliding one foot out of bed, one leg out of bed, right? Then the other leg, then the bum, standing up. Like it was so one thing at a time in the very beginning there. And I loved my children more than I loved the idea of not waking up. And so that kept me putting one foot in front of the other, which eventually turned to a mile, which then turned to 30 and then 100. But I absolutely believe that each one of those days were a gift. And now I can look back and see that every one of those days that I chose to keep putting one foot in front of the other were a gift. And today, present day, really is a gift because today is the day that you get to choose. It's why when I found my theme song, I had to buy the rights. I had to go in and buy the rights so that I can make that my podcast theme song. Today is the day I was born to fly, spread these wings, and find my own. I am coming home. And that meant to me, I'm coming home towards me. Today will be the day that it will change. Nothing and no one is in my way. Today will be the day. I was made to dream that anything can be my own. I have found my home again in me. Today will be the day. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is the gift. Okay, the next quote. Feel the power and let it in. I love water. I love creeks. I love streams, lakes. The sound of water, for whatever reason, always has been. The sound of water will ground me faster than anything in the world. I love it. And there's this river down by my house that sometimes gets really, really high after a rainstorm. And so I walked down there one morning. The water was really, really full. And the waterfall that I love sitting by, it was just like roaring. And I just couldn't help myself. So I took off my shoes and socks and I stepped really carefully into the river, walking towards that waterfall, trying to balance myself over the part where the water was just pounding off the rocks, the power of it just crashing below. I wanted that force of that water to hit my legs. What I was not prepared for was the emotion that came when the power from that water was crashing into my legs. And then I had the power of the sound. Tears just started rolling down my face. And not only was I again in awe of Mother Nature and just her magical ability to see right into my soul and bring out all of these unseen parts that just needed air in that moment. But I was reminded that we need to let that healing power in. We need to feel it. We need to let that in. In the movie, this quote comes when Panda is being encouraged to open up to a force greater than himself, to truly see it and allow it to transform him from within. I loved that principle because the same principle applies to you in your healing and your own self-discovery. When you embrace a higher power outside of you that is a source of strength, light, love, energy, then it can transcend your immediate circumstances that you're struggling with, right? The thing that's right in front of you that you're having a hard time wrapping your head around and finding the strength to go do and have so many fears around, right? Where it just feels all encompassing. That higher power can give you that source of strength. I found a scripture in the Bible when I first started my journey and I wrote it on a sticky note. I stuck it on my mirror in my bathroom in the upper room of my parents' house when I first moved in there. And I still have that sticky note. I've carried it around with me all of these years. It is, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. When I thought that, when I believed that that was true, that this greater power outside of me could give me strength and protect me from my fears, protect me from these immediate circumstances that created so much fear when I was like sitting right in front of it, I drew upon that external higher power of strength to help me have that strength. Maybe I've shared this one before, but my Hindu friends in the neighborhood, they all walk, right? And there's, especially this time of year, everyone's out walking. One morning I was walking south and my neighbor was walking from the east. So the sun was behind her and to my right. I think I have that directionally correct. Anyways, the sun was behind her because when she was walking and went to turn north towards me, she turned, faced the sun, bowed slowly, and then rising again, then moving along her way. And I witnessed this and it caused me to pause and I stopped. I turned to look towards the sun. And because I don't worship that sun, it did, though, give me an opportunity to recognize the power of the sun in the sky above me that I didn't even acknowledge before, and how its power, this brightness, its heat, its essence is so much greater than me. That source of light, warmth, even direction is greater than me. And I breathed that in and I felt different as I continued on my walk. It was just, I loved watching her and witnessing her bow and give homage to her higher power. It was a good reminder to me that that is an element that I do consider a higher power and can be a source of strength and warmth and direction to me. I let that in and it changed me. It helped me stand a little taller and I felt a little bit more of that anabolic energy. So what is your higher power? Identify them and let them in. Really doing this is so crucial for your healing journey. It helps you see your experience as part of a larger plan, right? Really removes those limiting blinders, and having a higher power can take those blinders off. Having a higher power and letting that in makes it easier to cope, with daily challenges that you're faced with. It also offers an opportunity to surrender when you feel like what you're holding is just too big, too much, and you need that relief. When you believe that there's something greater in this existence than the material world, it can inspire hope for something greater than just what the present day suffering is offering you in those moments. I have found it to help with my decision making when I believe that my God knows me, loves me, and has my back. When I let that in, I can let out the fear and the hopelessness that was just all too consuming, making me not want to even get up. When I let my higher power have control over things that I do not have control over, then I can find a place of rest and peace, and I can get that back into my soul. Whether it's my God or standing in front of my river and letting the power of all of that in, it heals when we choose to let it in. Okay, the last one. Now, this one literally made me laugh out loud, and my daughters and I looked at each other and we're just like, right? we all could relate to this one. And it was the quote he said, Panda goes, I always felt like I wasn't eating up to my full potential. I love that quote because I love food, but I'm going to tweak it just a little bit for the purpose today of hopefully inspiring you. But how many of you have felt like because of this betrayal and abuse and divorce that your potential has been limited? Like what you were meant for is no longer available, that you had all of this potential wrapped up in a dream, in a marriage, in a family framework, and that you believed would give you the highest potential in this life and perhaps the next. And maybe you believe it's all gone. That potential is gone. Perhaps you believe that unless you have a traditional whole family, you're limited in your potential. I want you to know that you can embrace your full potential beyond your adversity. That when you choose to reclaim yourself, your thoughts, your body, your life, one choice at a time, you build resilience, have personal growth. Your potential for healthy increases. Your potential for more increases. This is what they call in the world of psychology, post-traumatic growth. You're stronger than you realized. When you look back and you see what you've been able to do, things that you never thought that you would do, things that you thought you would never have been able to accomplish. I never thought that I would be able to get out of bed some days, and I did. I never thought that I would be able to work and raise kids, but I have. Never thought that I'd be able to laugh again, like that real laugh, love again, and really just live. But I have. You will emerge stronger and more capable after experiencing these challenges. I think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and self-actualization is that realization of one's own full potential. Like, this is a need. Your deeply personal journey can exist inside you despite external circumstances. So whatever has happened outside that you couldn't control, like your marriage and what your ex did, right? You can't control maybe right now the job that is being offered to you. You can control your children's emotions around some of these things. All of those are external circumstances, but your deeply personal journey to your potential, right? That self-actualization is inside you. And that's what you hold on to. I do enjoy and like listening to and believing certain aspects of existentialism, where like meaning and purpose are not tied to specific life circumstances, but are found through our responses to the circumstances. Because I think this is the power of agency right here. When we're no longer able to change the circumstance, right? What's outside of us, what's outside of our power, then we are challenged now to change ourselves, to change what we think about it and what we feel about it, if we want a different experience. We find new purpose within rather than holding on to a purpose outside of our control. Is what builds and breeds potential. Your potential is not confined to dreams of the past or all of those family, relational, idealistic structures when they've crumbled. Your potential is not confined to that. It is always ever present within you, waiting for you to maybe discover it for the first time or rediscover it. When you embrace your journey of this self-discovery, when you leverage your resilience that you have built, right? Look at where you've been, own that, celebrate that, right? That helps with your resilience. When you make new meaning of your experience, you can live to your fullest potential, way beyond, I think, and what I have found, the traditional framework that we once maybe believed was the end all be all. So okay, great. Sounds good. How do I do this? Well, first you start acknowledging your reality without judgment. You start acknowledging what is today. Goes back to that quote of today being in the present. This is the gift. Noticing what is in today, what's happening today, what is, without that judgment. Journal your thoughts and emotions. This can help you gain a lot more clarity of what am I thinking and believing? And are those thoughts rooted in the past, or are they trying to figure out the future where I don't have choice? Be curious about all of those thoughts. Open up to the idea that maybe they're not serving you anymore. This is where you can begin to reframe limiting thoughts and move into more of those empowering ones. Maybe you once believed that you were made to be a wife, but maybe you were made for more. Notice the I can'ts, the I'm not enough. Shift them to I choose and I'm capable. Set goals, small, tangible ones. Even right now, maybe it's getting out of bed and making the bed. I thought about that actually the other day. I was making the bed, and Scott will, if he sees me making the bed, he'll come over and help me, which, hello, I know, effing new. Anyways, he said, you're so good at remembering to make the bed. And I was telling him that this was one of my decisions and my goals that I made after my divorce when I was trying to get myself out of that funk. I'd wake up with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 blast off, right? Mel Robbins, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 blast off. And as soon as I said blast off, I'd get out of bed and stand up. Then I'd make my bed. And I just started with those two things. And I did those were my small, tiny goals. And I did that enough times that I started to see the potential of actually doing something new. I started to see that maybe I could do the next thing, and maybe I could do the next thing, and then maybe I could do the next thing. Whatever you start, whatever goals you set, it's going to help you actualize your potential. Believing something new takes practice, y'all. All right. It's not perfecting, it is practicing. It's why I created my Believing in You group coaching membership, because I give you every opportunity in that membership to help you really step into your potential and build resilience that we need. We need that to create a new life. Because when you're in the hardest times, when you're going through the absolute hardest times and you're struggling to put one foot in front of the other, it is so important to remember that you are stronger, that who you are is stronger than whatever power you think that storm provides. Maybe you do something other than what you usually do so that you can get through the storm this time differently. Maybe you stop and get curious about your thoughts about the storm, because if you've always think what you've always thunk about the storm coming at you, then you're always going to get what you've always gotten. Notice when your brain is ruminating in yesterday or fearing the tomorrow, letting yourself be present, practicing to be present in the today, calling upon your higher power, whatever you deem higher, healthy, stronger, strength, light, power, call upon it, surrender to it, and let it in and let it guide you, leading you to your full potential. Remember, as always, you are the chooser in your life, and you can choose the life that you want one day at a time, one step at a time, one thought at a time, because you can. Take care, everybody.
I was born to fly and spread these wings and find my own. I am coming home. Today will be the day it all will change. Nothing, no one's in my way. Today will be the day. Today will be the day. I was made to dream that anything can be my own. I have found my home. Today will be the day it all will change. Nothing, no one's in my way. Today will be the day.